what I've kind of figured it out, especially with Revit, is that like all a system really needs is a really good starting point, like a template, really good assets, like the things that we use for modeling and to produce documents. And then it just really depends on like how you train your employees.
What's that metaphor? Like jumping out of an airplane and then building a parachute as you fly. I don't know. It's kind of like that. It's an insane feat that you have to do while you're in a kind of situation. So this wheelbarrow, it's got square wheels. The classic version of this cartoon, right? There's a caveman with round wheels and he's saying like, hey, here's some round wheels. And the other two cavemen are saying, no, thanks. We're too busy. Right. And everyone's like, oh, those two cavemen, they're idiots. They're dummies. Of course they should swap it out. But what you don't see is this bear chasing them. Like if they stop long enough to change the wheels, the bear would get them.
Yeah.
And so you can't stop. You can't actually stop the cart. In order to get round wheels on the cart, you have to get enough people to come lift up the cart, run with the cart while you're taking the square wheels off and putting the round wheels on, set it back down and continue. And if you want to watch this and get value from it, that's cool. We've got round wheels. You want a round wheel, motherfucker? We will help put it on your wheelbarrow. Otherwise, like we don't care how many followers we get because that doesn't matter. Like that's not what we're doing.
Hey guys, Ryan here, also known as MEP Guy. And I want to introduce a brand new business that we just started with my partners here called RevX. And so we're just going to hop into it. This is kind of an informal thing. We're just basically showing off our new system that we call RevX. It's basically revolves around Revit for MEP design. And we've been working for the last 2 years on, building families, building templates, working with MEP firms. And we're just going to basically talk about some things that we see. The first topic we're going to talk about today is why it's so hard to build an MEP system. And what I mean by that is a lot of firms, they know that they need to adopt Revit. They might be still in CAD and they need to figure this Revit thing out. And that's essentially what we've done. But it's a hard problem. So I kind of just want to talk about like why it's so hard to do that. First off, I want to introduce Tyler Disney and John Chan, who are my partners here. And so I'll start off with introducing myself. I'm Ryan, also known as MEP Guy. I've been doing YouTube videos for about 4 years now, did some courses. I've worked with Autodesk doing courses. And basically, I met these guys to help me kind of build this whole template. And we really didn't even know what it was going to be at first. But what we really learned is that a lot of firms out there needed stuff with Revit and they needed to train their people. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. I'm a full-time plumbing engineer. I've been doing it for about 8 years now. And I'm also kind of a Revit geek. So I love building families in Revit, love thinking about different ways to use Revit. And ultimately just helping MEP firms out be more efficient in their production. So go ahead, Tyler, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Tyler Disney. I've been in Revit since 2009. I started as a mechanical project engineer, and I pretty quickly got thrown into the deep end of Revit. So I wound up becoming a mechanical project engineer / BIM manager for a firm, helping us make the transition from CAD to Revit, and that kind of became my career. So been doing it ever since, and pretty excited to be here and build this stuff.
Awesome. All right, so I'm John Chan. I'm the electrical engineer of the team, and I've been doing this fresh out of college. I graduated in 2015, and basically just jumped right into a firm that had little clue how to use Revit. So I learned on the job, figured it out, and eventually kind of ended up turning around and teaching them. So now at my day job, I go through and I teach a lot of people, how to do good electrical design in Revit. And so a few years ago, I started a YouTube channel just to try to teach more people. And that's how Ryan and I kind of met. And we just enjoy helping other firms and helping other people just be proficient at Revit and just getting work done as easily as possible. And, just cutting down the day-to-day suffering that you have at work because, obviously Autodesk products, Revit is very complicated and learning curve is pretty steep. Yeah, I wanted to join this team to kind of help out and see if we can take MEP just to the next level with Revit.
All right. So we're going to start things off a little, have a little fun with this. We want to talk about a problem that we see a lot of MEP firms have, and I've experienced it myself when I was at a 100-person MEP firm and when I was at a 15-person MEP firm, is that we all want to like build a system, right? We want, every owner's dream, I think, is to be able to go on vacation and everything's just working, And a lot of times I think what owners do or what MEP firms do is they just try to hire really good people. And that definitely works. But unfortunately, it always comes back to, the principals or the department heads where they're kind of running everything. And so I think what you ultimately want to do is you want to try to build a system at your firm. And what is a system? Well, it's actually pretty simple. What I've kind of figured it out, especially with Revit, is that like all a system really needs is a really good starting point, like a template, really good assets, like the things that we use for modeling and to produce documents. So that could be checklists, that could be how-tos, that could be families, all the stuff that you would need. And then it just really depends on like how you train your employees. So, what we've done, since we're all YouTubers and we all have been, teaching people for many years now, is we've basically created training videos that we call workflow videos. So with all three of those things, we kind of have, we think that we have a full system for, using Revit inside your firm. But I want to talk, start with Tyler, like, why don't firms build a template? Why don't they build custom families? Why don't they have a system? Why don't they train? Because I hear a lot. I remember when I first went to my MEP firm, I was like, there was no training. It was kind of just wing it, like talk to the guy over there. He might teach you, talk to them. And I was just like, how am I supposed to learn this stuff? So Tyler, let me know about your experience.
I mean, yeah, I was both a victim of and a perpetrator of that state of affairs. I experienced this as a BIM manager / project engineer / department head / drafter / designer / everything else. Like everything. I was responsible for building the template and the workflows and the training systems and the assets and everything. Like that was my job. Also, my job was to do project work. Also, my job was to get parachuted into projects that were in an emergency mode. And I was also running my team. So building the systems and improving the systems and having those systems that I built be responsive to what we actually needed as a firm always took a back seat to, the crazy thing that I had to go do. So our systems did evolve. I did build a template. I did build families. I did do all those things, but it took so long. It took an extremely long time because I was just fitting it in, here and there whenever I could. And so we spent years bashing our head into the same brick walls over and over again, falling into the same holes, tripping over the same branches, like all that same sort of stuff. Basically because we were just trying to keep up with the demands of the work. We're not a fat margin industry. Like no one is here ripping huge margins, so we can't slow down. We have billable work targets, all these other things. Particularly, I think in the smaller to medium-sized firms, it's just extremely difficult to be able to get the time you need to make the investment in those systems. So everyone knows they need the systems. We'll go to meetings, we'll talk about like, we need this, we need that. We point fingers at ourselves. But at the end of the day, we got to get the projects out, and that takes precedence. And so it's just incredibly difficult to build it. What's that metaphor? Like jumping out of an airplane and then building a parachute as you fly. Like I don't know. It's kind of like that. It's an insane feat that you have to do while you're in a kind of situation. So yeah, that was my experience with it.
It's probably like priorities, right? Like you think the priority is the jobs that pay the bill to keep the lights on, but you don't spend the priority to make sure that your system can support these jobs coming in. And you're just basically like suffering through it, trying to, get paid. But then like you could have been spending a little bit of time to fix your system, build your system, and like you said, make the parachute ahead of time.
So John, I know that you've worked, both Tyler and John have worked for bigger firms, bigger than I have. And so like, how was the training system like implemented? Like what happens when somebody is fresh out of college? Like what do they do? How does it work?
So that is the most challenging part because a lot of it was word of mouth. Like you basically would say, hey, this guy, a lot of people are like, oh, go to John. He knows the best. You can learn from him and everything. But again, I'm one person. I lead projects. I have jobs to do. And I can only teach so much to someone that has no clue. And we didn't have a system that was just like, here's a whole bunch of like videos to get started on. It's like, learn the basics here and then come to me when, you start working on a job and you have to get things out the door. But it was all like, we had to talk to people. I remember like 5 people in our company that were pretty much like the educators for everyone. And it sucked because at a certain point, these people left and we lost the knowledge base because it wasn't like a recorded video or written SOP or any type of like system that was like, left for the company. Like the company was like, they just lost the knowledge base, and the subsequent trainings got worse and worse. So like when we all had to work from home for, 2020 and 2021, the new hires really struggled learning. So that's part of the reason why I started a YouTube channel, because I'm like, hey, some videos would be great to kind of show these people some of the most basic questions. They were like, oh, how do I open a project? I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't even know how to do that yet? It's like, what are we teaching in school? And they're like, yeah, Revit in school is like architectural based, not MEP based. I'm like, dang, that sucks. So it's like, it's all like, people interaction, and like there was no system behind it. It was just like, hey, that guy knows something, go learn from him. I'm like, that's not going to stand very well.
Yeah. It's crazy how like none of this stuff has ever been figured out. And I get it. Like, hey, I'm the worst at it. You guys know me. I will procrastinate for years before something gets done. But it's just crazy how like, especially bigger firms, because bigger firms are the ones that typically hire, college students right out of school. And it's just like, if there's if nobody's ever thought about, hey, what's the training path, then you can't even expect to get much out of them for the first year or even the first 2 years. And that's kind of my experience too. I mean, I learned quickly, but, and that's maybe people just say, well, that's just our industry, but I don't think it has to be. So, at RevX, we do think that having some kind of training system is so important. If you want to do that all by yourself, hey, go for it. It's hard though. You have to have somebody at your company who's willing to make videos, who's really good at Revit, who has the time, like Tyler said and John said, like not everybody has time to do this extra stuff because they have projects. So it's like, and then sometimes the BIM managers, they're not in the production every day. I mean, they're doing more like model health, setting up projects. They might not know all the tips and tricks on how to model efficiently. And so like what we've tried to do is we've tried to, come up with the training library that we think you can basically give to any new hire and even people with experience, and then learn your system really quickly. And so, that's what RevX is kind of all about, is like, we're just giving you this system. It's templates, it's families, it's a training library, and it's for your whole, all your staff can be on the same page where everybody knows how to do everything. And so, so I'm just,
same way
go ahead.
too.
What's that?
That the same way too. Like you're saying, it's consistency too, because like I said, when we used to teach people person by person, each person had a different way of doing it. And then this student would learn from one person and then go to work for someone else that does things differently and have no clue how they want to operate. So it's like consistency is also the key too. If you want to make sure that you teach all your staff the same thing and then everyone's on the same page, like you said. So that's important as well.
So, I went ahead and pulled up the RevX website, revxmep.com, and you can see like we have this project that new hires can go through and learn all the different things that they're going to need for modeling really quickly. And so you can give this to them on day one and they'll literally, be able to model piping, add fixtures. They're going to learn all the steps that are required to like model on a real project. And then at the end of the project, they're going to have a whole project that they've already worked on without you having to do anything. So it's like, whatever firms want to do out there, I would just recommend really thinking about like, how are you training your staff? Because that's really important. If you don't train your staff, how can you expect them to do really good work? And then also like John and Tyler have mentioned, it's like everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Tyler, like anything else like about that as far as like why, let's go back to the concept of like the wheelbarrow with the square wheels. Like why don't firms like do these things?
Well, I think firms don't do these things, like we've already said, because they don't have the time. Because if they stop long enough to build these, then the consequences will be bad from a business perspective. But another reason I think is that there's an overlap of skills and experience and even like idea of what you need to be able to do to pull this kind of thing off. Like not everyone is both good at Revit, at design, at making videos, at teaching, at, all these other things. There's a number of skills you need to be able to assemble that, much less be in a position to be able to deploy those skills and personal assets that you have. And that's just very rare, I think, to happen. So I was just reflecting, we're talking about, these videos, like back in the day, the training system for us was YouTube.
Mhm.
That was our training system, but also it was YouTube because how I would build assets for training assets for our staff is the 13th time I got asked the same question that night, I would go home, open up my personal laptop, crack a beer, and record a Revit video. So then 14th time I got asked that question, I could just send them a link instead of having to sit down with them for 15 or 45 minutes and go through the whole thing over again. And then that library slowly built up, and it was funny. We would get new hires coming in and be like, "You're Tyler Disney," because they'd learned at their company from my YouTube video, which was for our staff, but I just threw it up on the thing, So, but yeah, I mean, long story short, most firms, particularly smaller and medium-sized firms, don't have that because if they stop long enough to build that sort of thing, it's going to be a bad day.
The bear's going to get them.
Bear's going to get them.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, we don't have enough time. I mean, there's projects are just coming in the door and we gotta get them done.
Yeah.
And there's
so
just
like this
time.
wheel. Yeah. So this wheelbarrow, it's got square wheels. The classic version of this cartoon, right? There's a caveman with round wheels and he's saying like, "Hey, here's some round wheels." And the other two cavemen are saying, "No, thanks. We're too busy." Right. And everyone's like, "Oh, those two cavemen, they're idiots. They're dummies. Of course they should swap it out." But what you don't see is this bear chasing them. Like if they stop long enough to change the wheels, the bear would get them. And so you can't stop. You can't actually stop the cart. In order to get round wheels on the cart, you have to get enough people to come lift up the cart, run with the cart while you're taking the square wheels off and putting the round wheels on, set it back down and continue. So like you can't ever hit pause. Like that's the only way to do it. And so, I mean, essentially, yeah, like
we're the wheelbarrow.
Some way, yeah, one way or another, you need to be able to not stop and get those round wheels on. So that's, I mean, it's just an engineering problem, right?
Yeah. So John, you have like, how do you think firms can do this? Like, how can they not stop?
Yeah. I mean, part of our, practicing with a real project is good for like that transitional period because then you can still get work done while learning and, be billable. But I understand that sometimes that could be hard. Also, like you have to sometimes set aside some time and watch these videos over lunch, or like what I used to do was I was, like I said, watch over lunch or like a little bit in the evenings. I hate to pull into people's like personal time because like no one wants to do that. Like when you leave work, you want to go watch football or, have a drink and hang out with your kids. But it's like that transition sometimes falls like a little bit to the employees to make that switch, learn some better habits and everything if there's simply no time at work. But anytime there's downtime, like around the holidays or just, our work sometimes is pretty seasonal. Like I know like around August and stuff, a lot of projects like kind of slow down a little because people are taking vacation. Like that's a great time to kind of just slip in there, learn this new method. And then when you come back to like practice it and get it going. But it's definitely not easy. And the fact that we provide people with like a test project and like structured videos, I feel like it makes that a little easier to do because like, oh, you have time, let's go in there. We have our project already set up. We have the families, we have the videos, just start clicking through and just start learning. And it's like bite size. Like we did it in, I don't know, like 15-minute videos or something. So have some lunch, watch a video if you wanted to, or squeeze it in between work. If you're like working on like a lighting plan, for instance, and you're like, hey, I wonder what this new way is. Watch this 15-minute video, use this family, and you might actually save yourself that 15 minutes that you spent to learn it. So there's different ways to approach it. And I believe like what we do is we provide the tools so that employees can go ahead and like try to learn this faster and better.
And I think something that's really important too about that is that our workflow videos are structured around a project. So kind of a start to finish project flow. So you start at the beginning of a project, you go through kind of a natural progression of it. So you're learning the skills and you're learning the process as you go through. My old firm, we implemented another sort of video-based training system. It didn't have any assets. It was just training like concepts of Revit, but it was topical. So you could go in and you could learn about like project setup, but you could go and learn about like this tool or that tool or anything. It was comprehensive, but there was no actual structure to it. So you're just learning little like nuggets, little bits of stuff. And at the end of it, you just theoretically had watched all these videos and knew what you were doing. Whereas at the end of what we've built, you've got a project, you've got sheets, you've PDF sheets of a thing, and you modeled it all yourself. You put them on the sheets, you set things up, you annotated it, you did the design on it. And so you've actually learned how to do a real project and not just like little bits and pieces that aren't placed in context. It's like our approach to we actually, not only do you have it in the context because you're doing design, you've actually got something. So even if you're a student or something like that, you could have that as a portfolio piece. Like, look, I did the RevX mechanical thing. Here's my PDFs. They look good, whatever.
Yeah, that's like a resume, right? Like a good set of drawings that you're proud of. My gosh, that's people page through that and be like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah.
It can work for me.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like I made these.
You can tell a lot about a person from the drawings they output, right? Is the text all janky? Do the arrows point to the right spot? Do you have spelling mistakes?
I'm feeling called out.
Yeah, all that stuff. No.
Yeah. So, just to kind of go back to the wheelbarrow, the bear is getting bigger. There's always more projects coming along. Bear's getting faster. Projects need to go, you got to get more efficient at finishing projects. You also, with your wheelbarrow, it's getting heavier, so it's just like all these things, and it's just impossible to navigate in production. So like what we try to do is we try to say, hey, let's actually take a real project that you're working on. And then, your staff gets to show up for live videos where we kind of basically train on real projects. So they get to, use a real project. So they get billable work done while we're actually showing them how to use a new system. And so that's where that adoption comes, where we kind of make time for it, where it is really tricky to just have your staff go and learn a new system and they're expected to do that while they're in production. Like that's hard. So that's what we've kind of tried to do with our system. So if you're interested in, basically we have a Teams product. So basically, if you're looking for a system for your whole team, please, go to revxmep.com and there's a Teams form. And so, you can get in touch with us and then we'll just kind of show you more about the system. What I want to talk about today is the warehouse technique. And so we have like in our system, we have what we've already kind of talked about, a template, a family warehouse, and then a training library. So today I wanted to talk about like the family warehouse, and we can show off like some of the families that we've built, just give you a taste inside of Revit, what that looks like. So I will start things off and let me share my screen. All right. So I basically just opened up the RevX Pro plumbing warehouse. And so I'm just going to go to a sheet view actually. And so we have this, this is the starting view. Here we go, is the warehouse. And so what this is basically a Revit project that has all of the families that I need for all my projects. And the nice thing about this is it kind of keeps everything organized. And so when I'm adding families or I'm creating new families that I need, throughout the year when I need them, I basically build them in here. And that way, when your staff needs to find families or needs to find different things from different projects, they don't have to say, oh, well, what was that project where we used it on? They can literally just come here and they can double click and they can basically copy these fixtures. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this flush valve floor mount. I'll copy both of them by holding Control. We'll copy them to the clipboard. And then I'll go into my project and go to my floor plans. So this is the actual project X that we've been talking about. So I'll open up a plumbing plan. We're going to open up a working first floor plan right here. And I've already modeled all this, but I can essentially just Control V and paste this plumbing fixture into my project. And now it's in my project for me to use. And so this is like the technique we use, is that we store everything in what we call warehouses. And then we basically just copy and paste them into our projects. And that way we don't have a ton of families in each project. So it keeps the file size small. So you have less chance of something blowing up or, the project file getting too big and failing on you. So we try to keep everything light. We also keep all of our schedules in here as well that can be copied and pasted into projects. And these are smart schedules. So they are scheduling all the fixtures inside of here. As far as plumbing goes, we have anything from symbols that you might want to use in your projects. We have all the plumbing fixtures you'd want to use. I have some building blocks over here for creating families. I have drains and stuff. We have water piping accessories. We have valves, sprinklers, water heaters, carriers, and backflow preventers. So most of everything that you would need for your projects. And then part of the RevX system is if, a firm decides to, start using our system, if they need a family, they just contact us and we'll build it for them. So that's kind of the process. One thing I did want to show is I do things a little differently to make things very fast. And so we have this plumbing fixture here, and I'm just going to go ahead and say CS for create similar. And the cool thing about this fixture is it actually has connectors. So you actually place it right here. And then I take this fixture and I actually move this to the wall. And the cool thing about that is it puts the connector right at the wall. So, what's nice about that is now the water connection's right at the wall. And I also have my sanitary connection right aligned with this pipe. So it makes things very easy. So I'll just show you real quick what I mean by that. So if I move this over to the left, and then I move this water closet over to the left, and then I can use a command called connect into. So I can click on here and I can say connect into. If I want to use the connection right here, I can say sanitary vertical down, and it'll make a connection right from the middle of the wall. And then I can open up a 3D view. So I'm going to go into my 3D plumbing view, and I could take this. And so I have this vertical connection piping right here. And now I want to go from the bottom of this fixture here. So I click on it again, connect into, and then this time I'm going to select this connector that's on my fixture and go here. It didn't work. So I'm going to do it a different way. Sometimes in Revit, you have to do things different ways. So I'm going to click on this guy right here, start drawing some piping. We'll go down to -1 and we'll start drawing off this way. I'm going to unselect automatically connect. And now I have that. And then we'll just trim this. So we're going to use TTR for trim extend. And then I've made that connection. So it's just these little tricks on how we built our families with all these different connectors. Really helps your modeling. And then if I wanted to connect into this vent piping up here, I could delete that. I could click on this fixture again. I could say connect into, and we can select the vent. I can make a connection right there. And then again, if I want to, here's a cool little trick for you. When I bring this up, it'll kind of put these fittings right here, and then I could trim these together. So all the things that we show in our workflow videos are basically to make all your staff and everybody on your team more efficient in modeling inside of Revit. And so the fixtures are custom. And so I'll go ahead and give it off to Tyler, and he can kind of show you some of the families that he's built and maybe just give an example of how one of them works.
Right. So here we are. We're in our projects environment. And let's just say that I want to put a rooftop unit up on the roof. So I'm going to hop up to my roof plan. We've already got our RTU up here, but we want a different one. I can jump over to the mechanical warehouse. So just like Ryan was showing with the plumbing warehouse, we've got a sheet actually that's got all of the families laid out by category, and then all the equipment schedules laid out to their left. So, we've got air terminals, fans, VAV boxes, terminal units, air handling equipment. We'll come back to that. Exhaust fans, split system stuff, BRF stuff, heaters, and hydronic equipment. So let's pop up back to the air handling equipment. So as you know, there's so many infinite different kinds and types of rooftop equipment, ERVs, MAUs, RTUs, AHUs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've basically built a family that's very, very adaptable. So that's this family right here. It's the basis for pretty much all of the rooftop style equipment that we've got. You can make just about anything with it. And so we have some derivative units here. So this is a Train 4YC unit. It's got some side discharge. Let's just say that that's the one I want. So I can do a copy. I'm going to come over to my roof plan and paste it in. And then I'm going to pop over to my schedule sheet. And I've already got a rooftop package unit schedule simple that I had in here, but let's just say I wanted a different one for this RTU unit. So I come back over to my warehouse and I come over and I've got a number of different options of rooftop units that I want. So let's say I'm done with the simple one. Maybe I'm moving from SDs to DDs and I'm ready for my rooftop DX schedule, which has more columns to it. So I'm just going to copy that, come over to my schedule sheet. Let's say I'm done with that and paste in my rooftop DX schedule, which we can tighten up a little bit, make it fit. And so now I've got my my schedule reading, and coming back over to this roof plan. So this unit right now, it's a 4YCC blah blah blah. But I've built this unit and I've built it to be very adaptable. So let's just say I've got a different model number that I want. I've got a different selection. So I can come in here and, I don't know, I don't have it off the top of my head, but let's say custom selection. And this unit is a little bigger. So the equipment width is actually 4 foot, the height is 3.5 feet, and the length is a full 5 feet. I can hit apply on that, and that will make the changes to the size of the box. And I also have the control in here to change the size of the connectors, the location of the connectors, and everything else. So I can just go in there and do that, and then be on my way and start modeling. So the whole point is that you've got the families that you need in your warehouse. If you have a custom need for a different kind of family, it's easy to get it. Because one of the things that burns a lot of time, of course, is waiting for rep to get you an equipment selection, going onto the internet, scouring the internet, finding a third-party plugin, digging around in previous projects. But we've got it all in that warehouse, and we've got the schedules in that warehouse as well. So that's just a little demonstration of the mechanical warehouse.
All right. So this is the electrical warehouse. Set up very similar to how mechanical and plumbing are. And essentially, we built all of our family from scratch with like special considerations to make things easier. Like for instance, like for lighting fixtures, we try not to over model things because we don't want too many things to render. We want the model to be lightweight so you can just get through the job. Like big schools or hospitals sometimes with like a gazillion things modeled can be really heavy on the machine. So we don't want it to crash and lose work. But yeah, so we got the receptacles, security devices, equipment, light fixtures. That's a big category here. And like fire alarm devices, they have some special smarts in them to help you design better. So essentially it's the same thing. We just we take fixtures that we want, like for instance, like this one I used in the projects. So I can copy it from here and go over to my lighting plan here, and I can paste it in here. Actually, no, I shouldn't paste it. If I already have a family in here, if I paste it again, this actually becomes like a fixture one of it. So let me find it in project browser. Let me just get rid of this one. Like if you paste a family with the same name, it tends to just give a +1 and then you'll have multiples. You don't really want that. But essentially that's how I got the families in here. And it's easy enough that we could start placing them all over the place. Since we're on the topic of lighting, one of the biggest things with lighting in MEP is that like they always require you to host to either a ceiling or reference plane or whatever. So you have to work in an RCP, which sometimes you don't get an RCP, or sometimes the RCP is all messed up and there's no ceilings. Like for instance, like over here, these are open ceiling rooms. So you have to go in there, draw a reference plane, put it at the height, host lights to it. It's a lot of work. So we built our fixtures to not need any of this hosting. So like I can literally just go in here and go into lighting fixtures, grab one of these. Let's do J1, and I'm on a floor plan. Let's say I wanted to put it at like 10 feet. I just say 10 feet, click, and it's in. So this is great because like I can see the doors, I can see the equipment. I don't have to go to an RCP where I don't know where the seats and desk is underneath. So I can stay in the floor plan, and this is where you do all your annotations anyways. So, you go in here, you can tag it right here on the floor plan. You can circuit it all in one spot. So it saves you clicks. It's a more elegant process than like the typical Revit way of doing it. So that's lighting. We have a whole bunch of cool stuff in here. And like I said, it's pretty extensive, but you can always make more. But we have really good, let's look at this. So another great thing about this, we call them like level hosted or unhosted fixtures, is that if you go into like a 3D view and let's say you saw something, it's like, oh, you want this to be at a different elevation. Let's say you want this above this exhaust or supply, return. But let's say you want to move it above, and all you got to do is literally just click on the fixture or click on, actually, you know what? Why don't we do this? Let's select all the fixtures. This will be a cool way to do this. Let's say lighting fixtures, hit OK. And let's say I want to bump this up to like 18 feet. And now I'm perfectly in line with it. Now let's go a little bit higher. So 20. So let's say we want to do that. See how easy it was? It's just you click it, you move it, you're done. And you don't have to mess around with like moving reference planes or finding new ceilings, adjusting the stem or whatever. So that's pretty awesome. Another one I want to show off is like on the fire alarm devices, we have these coverage plans and you can use them to design for. So like, you don't know, like let's say this is a 15 candela coverage. So like, you can see I can uncheck this and change this to a 30 candela. And you see how you can actually move this around and do like alignment tools. So if I align the coverage area to this, it snaps to it again with the wall down here. And there you go. That's where you got to put your fire alarm device for a 30 candela system. And you don't have to clean this up because if you go up here to like the sheet view, you can see that our views are set up where you have like a dirty working space, if you will, and then you have your printable space. So this is our printable space and it looks awesome. So I coordinate on one, I just flip to the other, check it, annotate it, send it out the door. So we're all about like just trying to make the workflow smoother and just making things like easier to get out the door. Like just you have your markups, you have your design, get it on paper and send it out for review or permitting or whatever. So that's what we do, man.
Well done. Yeah, we're definitely a production first mindset where, you know, we've been in production. We all started in production. We obviously all moved up to higher levels. You know, I was the plumbing department head. John is an electrical head and Tyler was moved up to BIM management. So we've all been there in production. So we know the pain that people experience but we're all also engineers and we all also are Revit, I would say, experts. And so we've taken all that together and we tried to think, how can we build a Revit, you know, template, families, whole entire system to make everyone's lives easier and simpler. And so that's kind of what we're doing here at RevX. And we're always trying to get better. We're always trying to find new ways to do different things. I mean, Revit, every year they come up with new ways to do things, new tools for us. And that's what this is all about. It's like we never stop. So we're always going to keep getting better. And we hope you guys get better. And we hope you, if you need, you know, to get trained up on using a Revit system, maybe you're in AutoCAD and you're looking to transition. Maybe you're just not happy with the efficiency of Revit. And that's what this whole RevX system is all about. And so I'll just one last time share my screen. So if you're looking for a new Revit system and maybe you think there's a better way out there, or if you're currently using CAD and you want to transition to Revit, make sure to check out our website, revxmep.com. And you can basically go there and check out some of our free videos. We also have courses. And obviously we showed you guys our template and our warehouse. So you can purchase everything there. You can also, if you need to get the products for your whole firm, we have team packages. So if you go down here, you can see that we have request more information. So just make sure you contact us and then we'll chat and see what you need. And we would basically get courses and families and templates for your whole team. And we basically show you guys how to implement the system. It's not just, hey, you get this system and you go for it. You can do it all on your own. We do have a package like that, but really we work with firms. So that way that everybody understands the system. They understand how to use it on their actual projects. And so that's what we're all about. So I hope you guys like this. We're going to keep trying to do other videos, maybe once a month on different topics as far as like Revit and building systems and how to be more efficient in Revit. And so make sure to contact us anytime and check out our website. And that's it. So thanks for your time, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
All right, cool.
See you guys.
Bye.